and a very good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Stand Up for Yourself. Today, we're doing things a little bit more differently. We are streaming at 8:30 in the morning instead of the normal 8:30 at night time, and that's mainly because we are today joined by Mr. Takashi Kawatani. He's more fondly known as Mr. Kawatani, yes, all the way from Japan. So everybody, please give a very warm welcome to Mr. Kawatani. Due to
Thank
time
you.
differences, yeah, we requested for a morning session instead of a night session because it would have been too late, yeah, for you, Mr. Kawatani, if I did it
Uh,
at 8:30 Malaysian time.
yeah, yes.
Rather
Okay.
late for you. Yep. So,
Yeah, yes.
welcome to the show. Thank you so
Thank
much for
you.
being
Thank you.
here.
Yes,
Yep.
thank you for the
Um,
opportunity, especially with the Malaysian group of people. Right?
yes, yes.
Yeah.
And as I understand it, right, Malaysia is not foreign to you. Yes, Mr. Kawantani, you've
Uh,
been
uh,
here for more than 15 years. You've
yes,
worked
yes.
here. So,
Well,
um, why don't we start with that? Yeah. Yes, sir. Why don't you tell
yeah,
us a bit about
well,
yourself?
Malaysia, of course, is a foreign country, forever foreign. But because of that, I found what do you call it? It's a long story. There are many things of memory. But anyway, I was fascinated with my first boss, managing director of the company I set up. I was executive director number two for legally speaking. I needed to put a Malay man on the top, and he was a former chairman of the Malaysian Institute of Management, MIM. Dr.
Hmm?
Wan Ghazali, economist from the Ohio University, right? And at
Yes.
that time, I was too shy to speak up to him for advice. I knew nothing about Islam, Malaysia, language, everything, right? So one time he called me, "Hey, Kawatani, you're a foreigner. Foreigners are expected to make mistakes." You're such a big-hearted man, right? Big boss, MIM chairman, right? And then
Yeah.
after that, he said, "You should bother me more. I mean, you should bother me more. I've
Mhm.
never had such a big boss in my country." And that was the moment I was felt fascinated about the broadness of the mind that he has for me. Then that naturally gave me a very good first impression about your country.
Wow.
See,
Thank
you
you.
remember about that, free spirited, open minded,
Mhm, mhm,
friendly. You're trying to have a very careful but very friendly relationship, a closeness among the ethnicities and so forth, so on.
mhm.
You know how to tell jokes. I have a lot of jokes about Malaysia, and almost every day in my family, we are my family are giggling about Malaysian uh, expressions of the
Yeah.
English language, like no problem,
Yes.
it doesn't
Mhm.
matter, never mind.
Yes,
you know,
yes.
okay, that still is. Still, I'm waiting for the borders to open so that I can go fly to Malaysia ahead of other countries, right?
Wow.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
if you do, please let me know. Do
Ah,
let me and my family, or at least me and my husband, take you somewhere
ah,
for dinner
yeah.
or for lunch. We will not take you to a Japanese restaurant because
Ah,
I'm
no,
pretty
no, no
sure
need.
you had enough of Japanese food. We'll
Yes,
take you
yes, yes.
somewhere local. Hopefully, do
Yeah,
let us know when you come over.
yeah, yeah.
What was your experience like working with the people? Because you were here for a very long time, yeah,
Mhm,
15,
mhm,
16 years. So what was it like just working with Malaysians, communicating with Malaysians? Because
mm.
we definitely don't speak Japanese, and you at that
Right,
time did
right.
not speak any Bahasa, our first
Mhm,
language. What was
mm.
that like for you?
What was it like to work with them, communicate with them?
Yeah.
It's difficult to come up with the right words to describe in a short amount of time. But anyway, you taught me a lot. Of course, you taught me a lot. You showed me, demonstrated,
Hmm.
and I heard the way of communication and relationship building, human relations,
Hmm.
sense of humor, and how to differentiate between tension and release, comfort.
Wow.
Those things which I would very seldom observe in my country.
I
Because
see.
Japan is close knit, everything is close knit, compartmentalized. So there are
Mm.
certain protocols, code of conduct, which people adhere to every moment you wake up until you close your eyes, right? So in a way, I'm all right, but I kind of like it. That kind of
Mhm.
patterns of behavior, I feel very, very good. Like a kata or karate or judo, there are certain
Right.
rules to observe. Then you feel
Yeah.
very good. But anyway, we feel a kind of pressure in such an environment in just in Japan, right? Everybody is
Mhm.
watching over your shoulder, sort of thing. That creates stability of a country, peacefulness of the country, but at the same time, stressful, right?
Right.
Over there in Malaysia, it's not really opposite, but different world, as you know, different
Of
world, as you
course.
know.
Different
Different-
culture, just different way of being, a different outlook on
Mhm.
things. That's amazing.
You look very friendly to each other, but not only superficially friendly, but you need to be friendly because of ethnic groups. Otherwise, you'll be have more clashes of arguments, and you end up maybe feeling very uncomfortable. So those
That's
very what do you call it, sophisticated way
mhm.
of resolving tension between people
Ah,
with the use of humor, with the
yeah.
use of never mind, no problem, never mind, or it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Yeah.
Right? So that's a very high level sophistication that Malaysia as a nation, as a hybrid culture, heterogeneous culture,
Hmm.
has learned over the years, perhaps. Which that so I always tell my trainees in my cross-cultural management training I
Hmm.
conduct overseas and in Japan to my
Hmm.
students. They are business
Hmm.
people, right? Asia, Malaysia is Malaysian people are our teachers in terms of
Wow.
relationship. But we are maybe the teacher of technology. That's why we are allowed by your country to go and set up a factory and transfer some of
Yes.
the technology. But in terms
Yes.
of a human relationship in multicultural environment, we are a baby. We are a student. We should learn very humbly from how Malaysian people have been surviving this way.
Wow.
Don't be misled. This is what I'm telling them. Don't be misled
Mm.
by the superficial look of the friendliness. They are not friendly. I mean, they are friendly, but they need it to be friendly.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so something we never think about it. Brought up in this
Mm.
compartmentalized society such as
Mhm.
Japan.
That's
So
amazing.
how I learned how what it was like to communicate with Malaysian people. Your question. So that was what it was like for me.
For you.
So during my stay, 16 years and a half, 16.5 years in Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur,
Mhm.
every day was like that. Not a
Wow.
single
That's
day.
amazing.
I'm not apologizing for your viewers, right? Not a single day I got bored.
Wow.
16 years, not a single day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Every day was I was full of curiosity.
That's amazing. It's
Every,
amazing. I like what you said. Like you said, as Malaysians, we can learn a lot in terms of technology and
mm,
advancements from the
mm,
Japanese. And as
mm, mm,
a
mm,
Japanese, there's a lot that you can learn on,
of
I would say,
course.
human skills, maybe human
Yes,
skills.
human skills.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's amazing.
One friend of mine in Bangkok, she's a Thai lady,
Mm-hmm.
production control manager in a Japanese factory, right? She said to Japanese expats, in my interview, she told me, I want a
Uh-huh.
Japanese businessman to come to Thailand after studying what the human psychology is like. You see, Thai people are
Ah,
very sensitive, as well
yeah,
as Malay people, Malaysian
yeah,
people.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
what everybody likes about Thai people. Very sensitive and
Yes, very
very nice,
polite, very
very nice.
courteous. Yes, they
Yeah,
are. Yeah.
peaceful. And she's saying that the Japanese, some of the expats don't look like valuing human psychology. They are too much
Right,
instruction oriented in terms of language.
right.
When a Thai says, I don't know, sir, I'm not sure if you can do it, then Japanese just say, no, I know you can do it. Customize everything, please do. That's the essence of their communication as expat.
Yes, 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 yes.
I'm being very simplistic, of course. Yeah, there are a lot of better examples, but
I'm
so
sure.
anyway,
I'm
human skills, exactly. Something that
sure.
you can please teach us more strategically. If you pretend you are a teacher, Japanese maybe don't feel very good at, but you should try to teach us. Yeah.
I should. I should. Yeah. But then, again, Mr. Kawatani, that brings us to what you do. Very interesting. What is it that
Uh-huh.
you do? You mentioned that you are a cross-cultural
Yeah,
management consultant. So what do you
right.
do as a
I
cross-cultural management consultant?
maybe you can show my first slide.
Oh, okay. Sure. Let's do that.
Mm.
Okay, let's see if all right, we're on.
This
Yes.
one. Uh, I do three things. Japanese.
Yes.
I teach Japanese business culture and practices to
Mhm.
foreigners, of course, and then cross-cultural leadership for any nationality, including Japanese and non-Japanese. This I
Mhm.
do in Japan or 20 countries of the world. And Asia-Pacific cultures, like pre-departure, this I teach to Japanese people, yeah, and the
Mhm.
U.S. One time or a few times to U.S. Navy officers in Yokosuka. So I teach
Wow.
because I do pre-departure cross-culture training to Malaysia, a pre-departure training to India, country by country, right? And I
Mhm.
have worked in all ASEAN 10 nations, so I have something to share. Yeah. So Japanese
Wow.
business, cross-cultural leadership, and Asia Pacific countries, cultures. And I have this Udemy course, how to speak Japanese cross-culturally, and
Yeah.
that's selling. Yeah. So Tak Kawatani, I'm doing this Diversity Management Institute and Success Japan initiative to impart Japan spirit.
So
Right.
that means that
Mm,
you are pretty well versed with
mm,
many different cultures
mm,
around Asia because you are
mm,
preparing
right.
Japanese to work abroad. In your
That's
case,
right.
to work
That's right.
abroad in other countries. So how would they
Yeah.
fit in
Yeah.
terms of language,
Mm.
culture? That's amazing.
Mm.
And
I'm
you
not.
know what's
I'm
funny?
not too. I'm not too versed with every country's specific cultural protocols and all the religious rites and traditions. I'm more into how to lead those people, how to be a
Right.
better boss, and how to learn the most out of local cultures to have a synergy between Malaysian
Ah,
work style
yeah,
and Japanese work style.
yeah.
Teach
So
something
how
to
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 do
the other
that?
person is one-sided. We should
Yeah,
teach each
yeah,
other. Otherwise, synergy
yeah.
won't happen.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Mm.
Yeah.
So
And
anyway,
when we go
in
abroad,
short,
we want to work together, right?
uh,
So there has to be that synergy. That's
yeah.
right.
People call me cross-culture management consultant. Right.
Right.
Mm.
Very apt. Very apt.
Mhm.
And
Okay.
it's funny that you also mentioned you have trained Navy before because one of our viewers today, James Fung, he says, "Hello everyone on LinkedIn. Apa khabar semua?
Wow.
How is everybody?" And he's in the
Oh,
Navy. Yeah, he's
really?
actually
That's good.
in
That's
the
good.
Malaysian Navy.
Of course,
So very good you
Japanese
mentioned.
Navy, Malaysian Navy must do a military joint drill, of course, and the U.S. Navy, I'm sure, are doing something with Malaysian Navy. U.S. Navy has a big port in Yokosuka in Japan, and that's a
Mhm.
center of Asia Pacific protection of the neighboring countries, including
Yeah,
Malaysia. Right, so
yeah.
they need the big boat of U.S. Navy need to go to each port: Vietnam, Singapore, Malaysia, and other South Asia countries, Southeast Asian
Mhm.
countries,
That's even that.
military joint drill or negotiation. So they have reason to know something about the local Asian cultures,
That's
right?
right.
Yeah,
Amazing. Truly
yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
Okay, let's go straight to the main topic of today.
Mm.
Right. Thank you for introducing yourself. That's really amazing. Really, when I first spoke to you, when I first saw your profile, it really
Mm.
automatically caught my attention. So that's awesome. Do share with us, Mr. Kawatani, the
Right.
Japanese, right? In terms of language, the Japanese are very, very proud of the Japanese language,
Mm.
and for many, many years, everything
Mm.
in Japan has been done in Japanese. I remember when I
Mm.
visited Japan
Mm.
back in 2000 and probably two or probably 2003 ish.
Mhm.
Uh, no, there was no TV show in English. Everything was completely in Japanese, and the
Mm.
signboards, the shows on TV, everything was
Mm.
in Japanese. So, can you
Mm.
share with us how has Japan embraced English?
Ah, during this samurai feudal lord called Edo period, and after that,
Mhm,
American demanded we open the nation, and we did. And a lot of
mhm,
trade and commerce and education started since that time on, during Meiji period and into Showa era. So actually, secretly, even during the Edo period, where people were wearing sword and kimono, right? We were
mhm,
sending some people to America to study the latest technology for future possible tie-up with the United States diplomacy. And then during this opening period of Meiji Restoration, then we sent, from my checkup just now, about total of something about 5,000 elite of Japanese people from different
Oh,
disciplines were sent on a national, what do you call it, money, what do you call it, scholarship, or
okay.
government funded elites. We sent them to US and something like 7 nations in Europe, including
Mm-hmm.
Germany, France, UK, Holland, Italy, and Russia also.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we ended up making a treaty of amity and commerce with those countries. But anyway, the point is not
Mm-hmm.
really to learn the language, learn English, but also through the language, we needed the latest technology in those countries,
Mm-hmm.
from law, legal, medical, mathematics, physics, chemistry, and English language, for the
Mm-hmm.
purpose of nation building. For the purpose of nation building. Yeah.
Right.
These people brought the latest technology, and English was taught at the special colleges throughout Japan, and
Mm-hmm.
then that translates everything into our mother tongue. you know, because
Ah,
majority of
okay.
people were don't have any dictionary, no foreigners around,
Yeah.
no point in studying. The farmers and fishermen, how do they learn English?
Yeah.
There's no
Yeah.
need. So everything was
Yeah.
translated into Japanese, and then the level of the subjects, whether mathematics or physics or chemistry, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
the level of those subjects taught in the Japanese language was at the level of the global standard, very high
Yeah.
level. That's why, to cut the long story short, that culminates into so many Nobel laureates of Japan. Yeah,
Yeah.
even though 99% of the Japanese learn things in Japanese, but the
Mm-hmm.
knowledge was at the
Yeah.
top level. Yeah,
Yeah.
literature to music to science and robotics, everything
Mhm.
was available, is available in Japanese. That makes Japan very strong. So my
Yeah.
question goes back to you: is Bahasa Malaysia available in all disciplines at the latest global standard? That makes
That's
the
a good
foundation of the
question.
nation very strong, right? Yeah.
I'm just gonna grab my book and write that
Yeah,
because
yeah.
that's
So
true.
Malaysians to
Yeah.
me is a far advanced, advantageous because you speak English as a common language, yeah,
Yeah.
basically. But Japanese people, 80%, 90% don't speak it. But our
Yeah.
knowledge in the head is on par with Europe and the US, isn't it? Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's a very strange phenomena. Without speaking language, how can
Wow.
we become the scientific country?
That's
Is
true.
because of those elites so strategically located in the fabric of education in this country.
That's very true.
Mm,
If I may just quickly sum up, we've got a
yeah,
few people who have just joined us, Mr.
right.
Kawatani.
Mm,
What you're saying is even from I mean hundreds of years ago, decades
right,
ago,
right.
um, Japanese, you have been sending your elite scholars who understand English, who know the English language,
Yes.
to other countries in the world, in the
Mm,
Americas, to the European countries, developed countries,
mm,
to
mm,
not learn English per se,
mm,
but
mm,
to learn multiple fields and
mhm.
multiple courses across the board, learn them in English and bring that knowledge back
Yes.
home to Japan
Exactly.
and have
Exactly.
everything translated in Japanese to then
Mm,
have the knowledge be transferred
mm,
to the people in Japan. And I love what you say, that that's how all you have managed to maintain the knowledge and the
mm,
technology at such a global level, because
mm, mm,
everything is transferred, and it's transferred in your native language
mm.
as a way to build the nation. That's amazing.
Ayman,
That's
do you know why? Can you guess what is the background of such a adventurous spirit of the Japanese? You know,
ah uh, uh
nation has been
oh
closed for 100 years, and suddenly they made
mhm,
it open, and we did. But how can we catch up in such a short time,
that's so true.
over a few hundred years,
Yeah.
to impress Americans and Germans in some areas of technology, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Even military boat, gunship was at the top level. We beat it up
Correct.
UK, the world's strongest navy ships, yeah, near
Yeah.
Malaysian waters. What was what was behind it? Is it
I
royal family, or is it because of a monocultural, perhaps? Yeah, that may play the role.
That may
No need,
have, yeah.
yeah, yeah,
You
sure.
are
No
thinking
need to
that,
worry
Mr.
about
Nakatan, and you
ethnic.
really got me thinking.
Yeah,
This is amazing.
if the whole countries think together, think similarly, then of course it gives us an advantage, right, over
Definitely.
to heterogeneous. But anyway, it's difficult to pinpoint. But curiosity was very strong among the Japanese.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's something we are brought up in the level genes, I think. So I don't know where to trace it back. But the more common recent reason to make it happen is we have never been colonized by
Yeah, yeah.
foreign countries.
Countries, yeah, yeah,
Most
yeah.
countries, developing economies of the world, Latin America, Africa, Europe, and Asia, including Malaysia, have been colonized.
Hmm. Yeah,
And some people say still you're cannot you haven't gotten over the colonial hangover.
yeah. That still goes
Lack
around. You're
of
right. It
standing
does.
up on yourself, speak up for yourself.
Yeah.
That's why Tun Dr. Mahathir, in his first administration, I guess,
Hmm. Hmm.
yeah, first administration, scolded Japan. Why are you looking to America as teachers? You have such a good Japan spirit and the gumption and energy. You should stand up and speak for yourself. You know,
There you go. Stand up for yourself.
yeah. So
Exactly
by
that.
learning, and then after American came and opened the country for, I mean, they
Yeah,
occupied, not colonized, for 7.5 years.
yeah, yeah.
We
They
are
occupy.
brainwashed by their culture,
Hmm.
in
Hmm.
good sense and bad sense. Bad sense, we lost Japan spirit, took the teeth out of our mouth.
Hmm.
That's what American people were most afraid of. They didn't want Japan to rise up again.
Yeah, yeah,
Rise
yeah.
up, and so they dropped two atomic bombs to put an end to Japan's spirit. But so that is a recent core reason why Japan became very obedient and
Right.
we're chasing after everything American and Western. That's why Prime Minister Mahathir, Dr. Mahathir, at that time scolded Japan. You should be more proud of yourself.
Yeah,
You know,
that's true. That's true. A lot to be proud of.
this is not speaking against the Western cultures, because without Western cultures, no Japanese culture. So
That's
it's
true.
okay. But in terms of a national pride, that was a price we are paying
Yeah.
for the learning of the English language.
But
Recent people.
you also use it to leverage. You leverage
Yeah. Mm.
on that
Yeah.
brainwashing, I would say, in that sense. But you
Mm.
leverage on them being there to
Mm.
then again build, or in during that time rebuild Japan, and
Yeah. Right.
it's been done so successfully. Okay, Mr. Kawatani, just quickly, just to hit the comments. We've got a few more people who've joined us here. We've got Rizal Aziz who says morning. So good morning, Rizal, joining
Mhm.
us from LinkedIn. And Anissa says, I guess curiosity is the key to Japanese success. Yeah,
Mm.
like you said, Mr. Kawatani, you are very curious. You all want to know how to do it.
Mm.
You all want to know how to come back. And yes, Anissa has two more questions for you, but
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll give you those questions toward the end so that you can get your points out first. You can talk about your points first about English. And Anissa, I'll hit your comments, your questions for Mr. Kawatani towards the end.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Mm.
Yeah. So okay, on to learning English in Japan. So
Mm.
like you said, you guys have used English to adapt the Western technology in order to
Mm-mm.
build Japan, in order to equip your countrymen with the up to
Mm.
date knowledge,
Mm.
global knowledge. So
Mm.
you would also like to share a bit about learning English in Japan, yes? So talk us through
Oh,
this
yeah,
English
yeah.
education in Japan. Yes,
Okay.
all yours.
Ayman, anyway, how much more time do we have on this show?
We
One
have
minute?
about 15 to 20 minutes. We have a good
Oh,
15
so
to
much.
20 minutes.
Okay,
Yeah.
let me put it briefly. Let me put it briefly because I want more time for interaction with the viewers, right?
Okay.
This is my personal original diagram, English education in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can say leadership education training in Japan also. But anyway, the way
Mm-hmm.
it should be, to start with that, uh, this is the ideal model of the English and the person in my mind. For people, for a person to speak any language confidently and without being too, what do you call it, too proud
Mm-hmm.
of not being
Okay.
condescending, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
more accepting and friendly and tolerant, whatever it is. We need to have the pride at the bare bottom as a
Yeah.
stabilizer, and then and pride in your country, pride in your community, pride in your ethnicity, pride in yourself, self
Mhm.
affirmation, self worth.
Yes.
Yeah, then you feel confident about something you can do. If you
That's
don't have much confidence as a Malaysian, if you doubt about your ethnicity, the fact that you're born in your country, whatever you do after you become adult, you become very shaky. So you've got to
that's
be a
so true.
proud Malaysian to start anything in your life, right? So
Yes.
confidence, if you have a confidence as a person, basically, you will develop some kind of philosophy, your own theory, your own messages, right? This is
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
my philosophy. This is my belief, and then you speak something. Then whatever you speak become very what do you call it? Hit home to other people.
That's
But
true.
please open the next one. But the way it is in Japan is English, people focus on the language, words and phrases and grammar, which you don't teach very much anyway. Too much.
I
It's
stay
like
away from teaching grammar.
it's like a alien on the Mars. Yeah, too much brain, and the
Correct.
body is very
Yeah.
like a carrot, like
Yeah.
very thin,
Yeah.
not stay
Yeah.
stable as a living organism, right?
Yeah.
So philosophy is shaky and scratch, and confidence is broken. Pride is almost zero. So no
Most
matter
of the
whatever you do,
people.
whatever you learn the language, it doesn't
Yeah.
send your messages. That's what I mean.
This just
Mm.
crossed my mind. This is exactly the same thing that's happening in Malaysia. That's
See,
how it is. Like,
Malaysia.
yeah, but
Mm,
the others,
mm,
there are two sides to it. There are two sides to how
mm,
people view
mm,
English at the top. It has
mm,
become the major thing that everybody is focused on. But
mm.
the way it's split is either people love it or people hate it. And
Oh,
unfortunately sorry, unfortunately in Malaysia and for Malaysians, there are more people who don't like it
really?
compared to the ones who actually embrace it. And mainly because, like you said, we are always focused on the grammar and the rules. And so it becomes
Mm,
very
mm.
difficult. And so it makes everything else like exactly the way you've pictured it, the philosophy, the confidence, and the pride that we have as Malaysians or Japanese. It becomes very shaky because we are so transfixed on the language itself instead of what the language is for.
Since when it is like that? Do you think in Malaysia?
Uh, I, I agree with what you said. I concur with what you said, where it did stem from the fact that we were colonized.
Oh,
And at the time when we were colonized, everything was in English.
mhm.
This
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
medium in
true,
school
true.
was in English.
Mm,
So
mm,
people were back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, Malaysians, we were
mm,
speaking English as similar to Bahasa Melayu as our first
mm,
language. So it
mm,
became at par because we were,
mm,
I mean, in my parents and my grandparents' time, they were learning everything in school in English. When they went to work, people were
mm,
speaking English because we were colonized. When
mm,
the British left, when the British left, English was still very much widely spoken. But then what
mm,
happened was in the 70s, our medium of education, the language medium of communication in our education system changed to Bahasa. So that's where
mm,
the gap started to happen. So we had
mm,
a
mm,
generation who was very comfortable with speaking English and Bahasa, which is my parents and my grandparents' generation. And then you've got
mm,
my generation, which is stuck
mm,
in the middle
mm,
where suddenly everything changed to Bahasa
mm,
compared to in Japan, where everything maintained to be taught in the Japanese language,
mm,
but the
mm,
technology and the knowledge was very global, but
mm,
spoken in Japanese. But in Malaysia,
mm,
everything transferred to Bahasa Melayu, and
mm,
then our native language became the comfortable language. And
mm.
now that English has become a business language, a worldwide
Mm.
language, there's that gap.
I see, I see.
There's that gap.
Understand, understand,
So now
understand.
people are trying to embrace English again, but they are
Mm,
focusing exactly what you said, Mr. Kawatani. They're focusing on
mm,
English as a language instead of English as
mm.
a skill to build
Well,
our
then,
life.
then Chinese scholars or Hindu scholars or Malay scholars of Malaysia
Yeah,
should do a more job to impart
we
the language
should.
latest mathematics and physics to be taught
Yes,
in,
yes,
in the local language.
yeah.
Then disparity may minimize, I
We
suppose.
can close, yeah,
Mm,
the disparity.
mm.
That's so true. Okay, go,
Okay.
yours again. I'm sorry. When I saw this, I'm like, oh my God, this is happening
Okay.
here too. It's so similar. Okay,
Maybe
back
we
to you.
can look at the next slide to wrap
Okay.
up this shaky or stable. Yeah. This is another way, my last way slide to explain the previous triangle picture.
Hmm.
Stages of message building. To me, speaking any language is to send messages, and then other person and you exchange the meanings rather than speak. Not yet, not yet.
Oh, sorry, sorry.
Anyway, self-respect, right? We talked about it. And
Hmm.
what I mean by that is love of Malaysia, love of your community, love of your parents, and pride in your profession if you're working. Yeah, and then you build the confidence. And I'm not sure if it's a correct English or not, but someone has to have an internal capacity, the room, to accept different opinions, different values
Definitely,
as they
definitely.
are, without
Hmm.
being non-judgmental. A person, here's a secret. You might think that a confident person may not be so accepting, but the truth is the other way around. If you have a
That's
true healthy confidence in yourself, you have a capacity to be very modest about other people having different kind of confidence, right?
very true.
And then
Very true.
yeah, philosophy, then you have your own original philosophy. That's why that makes the world civilizations cultures interesting. A
That's
Thai
true.
person become speak very Thai mindset. A
Yeah,
Malaysian have a very Malaysian
yeah,
idea thinking.
yeah.
That makes the world very funny,
Colorful,
yeah,
colorful,
colorful
and lots
place,
to
right?
learn.
Yeah,
Lots to learn from each
having a
other.
strong opinion does not mean you become too much
That's true.
obstinate. What do you call it? Obstinate. Yeah. Then the words and phrases that come out of your mouth sound your true message of your own. That
Yeah,
touches the chord of other
yeah.
people. Yeah. So that's what I mean. And in Japan, they focus too much on the words and phrases and doesn't care and even never think about philosophy down below. So if you
Looks
go
like it's
to,
not just in
yeah,
Japan, Mr. Kawakan.
you go to Japanese bookshop, English language
Uh-huh,
corner, there's always a big
uh-huh,
bookshelf, right? And I
mhm,
feel like vomiting. Yeah. Why? Because most of the title of the book in the
uh-huh,
bookshop
uh-huh.
says, hey, if you speak like that, native speakers will laugh at you. That kind of Japanese English will be the object of ridicule once you go overseas. Learn
Oh,
English in three breaths, three words. Those
oh my
very
God.
superficial, outrageous, stupid titles are the bestsellers. My kind of book doesn't become a bestseller at all because it's too true. Too true. Too
I like that.
true.
It's too true. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, this my book working together doesn't
Yeah,
sell
yeah.
well. This is what do you call it? 英語の話せるボスになる to become a boss who can manage people in English doesn't become this is a complete failure in Japan, but bestseller in Southeast Asia. Winning together a Japanese company. This is a bestseller still in South Asia. This is to help non-Japanese and Japanese to develop a dialogue, right?
Right, right.
But anyway, so this is it. So I guess,
Wow.
yeah.
It's not just a
Mm,
problem here, then it's a problem
mm,
pretty much everywhere. Again, Mr. Kalkan, you've hit something
mm,
so true to me as well. What's
mm.
true is what people shy away from.
Ah,
It is
ah,
similar to what I am fighting for. I'm fighting for the
mm,
confidence to speak in English, not to speak English perfectly, not to speak English.
mm,
Yes, we want to speak correctly so that people understand what we're saying, but there
mm,
are bound to be mistakes. So I'm trying to get people to understand. Don't be so fixed on correct
mm,
grammar. Don't be so
mm,
fixed on, um, being laughed at or being mocked. But just get the message across with confidence. Just get the message across, and it needs to it's like you said, when it's true, people people don't look at it, but people look
yeah.
at,
To to get
three
to get
ways to do this.
Malaysian people who shy away from English to speak, I think the
Mhm.
teachers of English should change their questions to ask. And the questions and the what do you call it, the dialogue scenario contained in the English conversation book must change from a very unnatural unrealistic situation. Like we
Yes.
meet someone at a bar, we meet someone at the station, at the reception of a hotel. Would you pass me the salt? They're
Yes.
completely
That's the kind of English
irrelevant.
you need
So
to
the
be
question,
teaching people.
if I were the teacher of English, I would ask the Malaysian student or Japanese student, tell me what you like the most about your country. Tell me,
Tell
tell me the area of Malaysian culture where
Yes.
you would like to change a little bit for the better. And
Yeah.
then a student may say, "Well, I want common language over among the three or four ethnic groups. Then we feel more close." Okay, what makes you say so? Ask question something that touches on the survival and the
Yeah.
foundation, like the picture we are looking at of that
Yeah.
individual. Then
And
they
it's true to them
learn,
too.
they grasp the language while knowing more about themselves.
Yes. True to yes.
Yeah,
Oh my
yeah.
goodness. And Mr. Kawatani,
That's a
if we don't have
shortcut.
a
That's a
sorry, if
shortcut
we don't have
to
a
make
time limit, I think
Malaysia.
we can go on. Mhm.
Okay, okay. I think I will stop here.
I think we can go on. We just got a time limit. That's all. But
Yeah.
I'll let you finish the last thing you were saying. Sorry, sir. What was the last thing you were saying?
Oh no, that's a shortcut to make a nation strong and
Mm,
curious about learning from other people, make a person more stable. Yeah.
I love that. Make
Mm.
a person more stable. You're right. When a
Mm.
person is stable, you have a community of stable
Yeah.
countrymen, and that can build a nation.
Because nowadays people are demanded to required to do more with less resources and a lot of cultures coming in on all the internet age. So I think we should be more back to be more human and find your own space in our life and to have our
Yeah.
own really look at your own philosophy, why you are there, why do you exist. Then
Yeah.
I think we should go back to a more simple way of life.
I agree with that. We should go back to the more simple way of life.
Yeah, yeah. I
I
don't know
love
what
that.
I'm
Okay,
saying.
Mr. Kautani, just quickly in the comments again, we've got
Yes, yes.
Nesrik Eddie who joins us. It's top of the morning, Iman Kautani Sensei. Thank you so much for joining us. And
Thank you.
Anissa says, yes, most Malaysians, including me herself, sometimes find it hard to speak English in public because people have different interpretation about us. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Either they
yeah.
think we want to show off or they think that we have a high level of IQ. And in Malaysia, this is very true, Mr.
Mm,
Kawatani. That's we are so split.
mm,
We're split between those who really embrace the language and those who really just don't want to
yeah,
know anything about the language.
that's
Yeah, and
right.
she agrees
Mm,
with you as well. Anissa says true. We should learn more on how to deliver the message and stop worrying too much about the grammar.
yes,
Understanding has to
I see,
really
I
come
see, I
first.
see,
Yeah,
I see.
very very true.
Well, it's amazing to hear those words from Malaysian people. I was thinking Malaysians are no worry about speaking in English and
Oh,
nobody
it's a
feels like showing off your talent. It's like Japan. Well,
not too bad over here too.
don't be left behind by international yeah business
Yeah,
community. Yeah. Mm,
that's very,
okay.
very true.
All right.
Okay, there's a bit more on your slides, right, Mr. Kautani? The
That, that
little notes
that's
that
all I
you
have.
wrote down. This one?
That's all I have. Oh, okay. So
Okay.
you just open it like that. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
So those are the end results of this message building pillar. Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
I love this. We start with
Mm,
respect and
mhm,
self-respect, and it that
mhm,
eventually builds up to empathy. And empathy, I feel, is one of the most important
mm, mm,
characteristics a leader needs to have. To have empathy, because as a leader, we're leading people,
mhm,
and we need to
mhm.
understand the people. We need to know the people. We need to know what they need and what they want, and that comes with a very, very high level of empathy.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
well, it'll be interesting to have a joint discussion between Malaysian English educators and the Japanese, or Malaysian students of English and Japanese students of English, and discuss, debate something together.
I
Yeah.
will have another conversation with you on the
Yeah,
side
yeah, yeah, yeah.
to explore that, Mr. Kawatani, most definitely. Okay, just a few questions in the comment. Would that be okay? We've got about 10 more
Yeah,
minutes,
yeah,
five
sure,
to
sure.
10 more minutes. So,
I
um,
think we can close
okay,
close
let's
the
do that.
slide if you
Okay,
okay.
yes. So,
Yes, good morning, Anissa.
Anita's got a few questions for you, sir. So
Hi,
she
Malala,
just wants to know, what's
yes,
your opinion about learning Malay language? Was it easy
ah,
for you?
no, my time, I went to Malaysia in 1992. I was attached
Oh,
to ISIS Malaysia, yeah, Institute of Strategic. International Studies Malaysia, Center for Japan Studies. And from the day one, people talk to me in English. Never gave me a chance to learn the
Ah,
local language, so I blame it on you. That's not easy. It's not easy forever. So
okay.
I was
All
more
right. That's
shy about Bahasa Malaysia actually, but I made a lot of very funny um, grassroots level of friends, local friends
uh-huh,
that
uh-huh.
expats will never have a chance to meet, like in the
Oh,
mountain or village side. So I think I got close to the Malaysian heart in that sense.
any Malaysia, Bahasa Melayu or Malay phrases or words that you still remember?
I still remember.
Yeah. Any Malay words
Ah,
that still fresh in your mind?
ah, those uh, those uh, those Malay food, Malay food, all the Malay food menus and so on like that.
What's your favorite
Don't know.
Malay food, Malaysian food or Malay food, Malaysian food? What would be
I
you
always,
remember?
I always, when I stay in the mountain, I used to stay in the mountain for about 1 month per year. Then I wake up with nasi lama and mie goreng, those typical local village food. And at one
Awesome.
time, I had a very bad stomach, and people laugh at me. "Hey, Kawatan, your stomach is 5 star."
Ah,
Using too bad oil and so on.
right. So
Any
she has
other
another question.
question?
She asked, did you find it difficult to communicate when you were in Malaysia? Was it really difficult? I mean,
To
people who spoke in
communicate
English with you.
with Malaysian people when you were in Malaysia. Um, yeah, because I was not good in Bahasa Malaysia.
Mm,
My world might have been smaller than what I think.
okay.
Yeah, because I spoke to people who understands English, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
In that sense,
Mm.
I should restart. Sometimes I think I should take up online Malay lesson sometimes.
Courses. That's great.
Mm,
That's great. Thank
yeah,
you so much. Yep. We've got another one who's just joined us. One Muhammad Noor from on LinkedIn. She says hi. And Iman and Kawatani san hello. We've got quite a number
yeah.
of people who have joined us today just to hear
Ah,
what you have
ah,
to share,
I
which is
see.
really, really awesome. We are coming to the end, Mr. Kawatani. Like I said, if we don't have a time limit, I think we would love to hear even more from you. And I think there would be
Yeah,
more that you can share
right,
with us.
right, sure, sure.
In the last 45 minutes, it's been so valuable. And
Mm,
you've asked me a question that I've written in
mm,
my book. You've got
mm,
me thinking.
mm,
Really, really got me thinking about how the Japanese really has just embraced an international
mm,
language, but for the
mm,
sole purpose of building your nation. And I must say that you have done such a good job in building the Japanese, in building Japan, putting Japan on the map, and um, even as a Malaysian myself, when I went to Japan in 2002, 2003, I was
mm,
amazed by many things. I
mm,
remember one of my most profound
mm,
memories in Japan. Yeah, Mr. Kautan, if I can just quickly share that when my family and I came to a zebra crossing, there were
mhm,
no traffic lights. It was just a zebra
mm,
crossing, and we
mm,
stopped. We
mm,
didn't cross.
mm,
We stopped because we saw
mm,
a car coming
mm,
from afar. And just as we stopped, we realized that the car slowed down for us to
mm.
cross.
Oh, oh, oh.
And for me at that time, I was only 14 or 15 at that time.
Mm,
I was mind blown. I'm like, the car slowed down for us because in
mm,
Malaysia
mm,
we
mm,
have to slow down for the car. It's not the other way
mm,
around. Even if we go to a
mm,
zebra crossing. So things like that, and how polite the people. I mean, Malaysians were also polite, but just culturally,
mm,
how like you said, the Japanese are very obedient. So everything, and in the car there was this voice that would alert the driver if the driver was driving faster than the allocated speed. I was like, what?
mm,
Wow. So
mm, mm,
Japan has definitely achieved great heights, really great
mm,
heights, and to know how you did it to me is really inspiring. I'm gonna take a look at this and see what can be done,
mm,
Mr. Katan. You've
mm,
really opened
mm,
my
mm.
eyes to a whole new level of learning and embracing English. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Um,
Thank you very
One
much.
final thing from Anissa, very interesting. Have you ever met a Malaysian who spoke in Japanese with you while you were here?
Yes, 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 yes. There are a few people, some people. Those people studied in Japan university,
Uh-huh.
graduated.
Ah,
That's why they speak like native Japanese speaker. They were
okay.
my associates and close business partners. You know,
Awesome.
they played a
That's great.
they played a bridge role between Malaysia and Japan. Anyway, the world today is too noisy, and they
Mm,
pretend to be fast is a good thing, but actually it's not to me. So come to Japan and feel peace, simplicity.
yeah.
Then Malaysian people will feel more comfortable, peaceful inside more. Because Japan is a good contrast to a heterogeneous society, and Japanese should go to Malaysia to learn the heterogeneous way of life. So
Mhm.
we should visit. And no more COVID restrictions. We don't need them. The restriction. We should be more set to free to fly anywhere we want. Otherwise, human beings will lose a humanness.
That's true.
I'm enough. I've done enough of confinement to my room.
I think all of us
Rather,
around the world, I think we've had
uh,
enough and we're
uh,
ready to get back out there.
uh,
Mr. Kawatani, my goodness, it's been such a pleasure. You've shared so many valuable things. Thank you so much for your
thank
time, for
you.
your sharing,
Thank
for
you.
your wisdom, for your experience, and everybody who has joined. That's why this show is called Stand Up for Yourself. And
Mm,
you've just shared that you don't just stand up for yourself as an individual. You can
mm,
use English to stand up for your entire nation and just
mm.
bring the country to completely different heights.
Mm.
Thank you so much once again, sir. I'll
Yep.
be in touch with you. Please be in touch with us.
Yes.
When you come
Yes.
back to
Sure.
Malaysia, please let
Right.
me know and let me take you out for
Thank you.
some authentic Malaysian food. I
Thank
know
you.
you miss them.
Yes.
I would like to say thank you again to everybody. I'm not going to say good night. I almost say good night because I normally do this at night. I
Ah.
almost say good
I see.
night. So
Okay.
everyone have a good day. Have a good
Well,
week.
have a good day.
And find Mr. Takashi Kawatani on
Yes.
LinkedIn. Connect with him. He shares a lot of good things on his page as well. Make friends with him. Be acquaintances with him. Have a good day, sir.
Well,
Wishing
have a good
everybody
day
all
to
the
you
best
too.
for the
Have a
entire
good
week.
day.
Thank you
Thank you
so
for your
much.
invitation today. I enjoy very much.
My
Thank you.
pleasure.
Thank
My
you again.
pleasure.
Thank you
Goodbye,
again, Lucy.
everybody.
Bye bye. Thank you very